right, guys, let's do this in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to Rob Carson's What in the World. Hi, I'm Rob Carson. Welcome to the show. Now, tonight, for my regular viewers, we are doing something different. We're doing a slightly abridged version of the show for Newsmax Television. Newsmax Television is, I guess, going to pick up the show. Not sure exactly what they're on, but we'll see if it works. Anyway, welcome to the show, guys. We got a lot of stuff to cover, including, I guess, what the big news of the week is. Donald Trump was acquitted of all charges. 2 separate impeachment charges, both of them. Not a surprise. We kind of knew this going in, right? The Democrats kind of knew this going in, and pretty much wasn't going to change anybody's mind. Here's that happened. Acquitted on both articles of impeachment against him. A 4-month-long impeachment process. It seemed a lot longer than that. Of course, he was not convicted on abuse of power. Mitt Romney was the only Republican to vote for his conviction on that count. And on the other account, obstruction of Congress, 47 senators voted guilty, 53 voted not guilty. Now, nobody's paying attention to the nonpartisanship of that vote. They're only focusing on the first, which included Mitt Romney having, I guess, a come-to-Jesus moment and finding the president guilty on the first count. Regardless, we're going to put this behind us in the rearview mirror of history, right? No, most probably not. Because, unfortunately, something else will probably come up. It's kind of like, now listen, I'm not into corporal punishment unless it's between 2 consenting adults in the privacy of their own bedroom. But let me use this analogy. The Democrat Party has behaved pretty childishly since the president was elected. They've done everything they could to impeach him, to impugn him, to take him down. 97% of his press coverage is negative. All of these things. When a child misbehaves the first time, they get a timeout, generally. And again, I don't believe in corporal punishment. But the second time, in this case, I think a spanking is in order. All right? So the first time, the Russia collusion, which was a sham, which was a lie, built on a dossier, paid for by the Democrat Party and Hillary Clinton, allowing government agencies to surveil a campaign and then a transition team and then a president, which resulted in the impeachment and the whistleblower. There were plants in the White House just waiting for something to sprout. And they ran with a phone call. That said, time out. Time out on that one. This time, a rushed impeachment inquiry in the House of Representatives, a rushed vote into the Senate, slam dunk case according to the Democrats. Then they wanted all sorts of new evidence and all sorts of new witnesses because John Bolton had some juicy leaks out of his book. Yeah, this time it's a spanking. And the spanking is going to come in November. The spanking is going to come in November. George Washington University law professor and self-described Democrat Jonathan Turley, who I never quote normally, said while many will celebrate Nancy Pelosi's trolling of the president, she tore up something far more important than a speech. What is that regard? Well, you know what I'm talking about. Nancy Pelosi tearing up Donald Trump's State of the Union address immediately following the State of the Union address. It was something that most of us have never seen before, this sort of behavior from a Speaker of the House. Not only do we see her doing everything she could like a spoiled toddler to look in every other direction and act like nothing is happening, she also, upon the end of the speech, did this. Okay, now some people might consider that to be rage. Some people might consider it to be me, petulant and childish. I did get into a discussion online with someone who I have never discussed politics before, and she didn't understand my outrage at Nancy Pelosi's behavior. But it was outrageous. Back to Jonathan Turley. Pelosi shredded decades of tradition, decorum, and civility. that the nation could now use now more than ever. And I agree. The act was more important to Pelosi than preserving the tradition of her office. In doing so, she forfeited the right to occupy the office. If Pelosi cannot maintain the dignity and neutrality of her office and the State of the Union, she should resign as the Speaker of the House of Representatives. What do you give that a chance of happening? Pretty much nothing. Pretty much nothing. Oddly enough, Adam Schiff did the same thing, actually. He actually tore up a Cheesecake Factory menu when they discontinued his favorite egg rolls. Same thing. Left the same kind of questions on our minds here. But here's apparently what maybe supposedly caused it all. Now, there are a couple of things. The Nancy Pelosi, normally you're supposed to introduce the President of the United States by saying, members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting you the President of the United States. She didn't do that. She said, members of Congress, the President of the United States. Okay, that's a slight, all right? I believe that is an intentional slight because everybody else did it the other way, including Paul Ryan, Barack Obama's 2016 State of the Union. He said it. House Speaker Dennis Hastert of Illinois introduced President Bill Clinton with all the formalities in 1999 when he was being impeached or after he was impeached. Nancy Pelosi decided to leave that out. But everybody on the left is saying that it's because Donald Trump didn't offer her a handshake. This is the perceived slight. There we are. He goes over, turns around, and here's your menus. If you guys need a glass of water, there's the slight. Apparently there was a slight, and Nancy Pelosi was outraged by it. And she spent the entire speech, an hour and 18 minutes, looking in the other direction, mumbling to herself, and, of course, ultimately tearing up the State of the Union address at the end of the State of the Union address like a petulant child. So, here is her response to why she tore up the speech. Here it comes.
I was trying to find one page with truth on it.
Why did you rip the speech up, Madam Speaker?
It was the courteous thing to do, considering the alternative.
Okay, I guess the alternatives were what? Wiping her rear end with it? Maybe? Probably? Couldn't do that in front of the house, I guess, right? Anyway. Petulant, childish. But did you expect anything different? There were some really cool things that happened at the speech, including Donald Trump's recognition of one of the last surviving Tuskegee Airmen, Charles McGee, 100 years old. And dear God, if I look this good at 70, I'll be thanking God for it.
Charles McGee was born in Cleveland, Ohio, 1 century ago. Charles is one of the last surviving Tuskegee Airmen, the first black fighter pilots, and he also happens to be Ian's great-grandfather.
Oh, yeah. Now, what you didn't see there is that AOC was not in the crowd. Rashida Tlaib was there, as were many Democrat women all dressed in white, which, by the way, I was told to remind that's the universal color of surrender. So, whatever. They sat while this hero was introduced. They sat. He flew 1 out of 35 combat missions during World War II, attacking targets in Italy, helping support the rescue of 1,000 POWs in Romania. Donald Trump signed a bill promoting Charles McGee to from colonel to brigadier general on Tuesday. Better late than never. He needs the pension, right? Okay. It's kind of a cool event last night. A lot of negativity coming from the press as some sort of a staged event like reality television. Amy Williams from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, her 2 kids there, Eliana and 3-year-old Rowan, were in the crowd. Who was not in the crowd? Their dad, Sergeant First Class Townsend Williams, stationed in Afghanistan. But that didn't prevent the president from a little surprise for Mrs. Williams.
War places a heavy burden on our nation's extraordinary military families, especially spouses like Amy Williams from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and her 2 children, 6-year-old Eliana and 3-year-old Rowan. Amy works full-time and volunteers countless hours helping other military families. For the past 7 months, she has done it all while her husband, Sergeant First Class Townsend Williams, is in Afghanistan on his 4th deployment in the Middle East. Amy's kids haven't seen their father's face in many months. Amy, your family's sacrifice makes it possible for all of our families to live in safety and in peace, and we want to thank you. Thank you, Amy.
There you go. Now here comes the surprise.
But Amy, there is one more thing. Tonight we have a very special surprise. I am thrilled to inform you that your husband is back from deployment. He is here with us tonight, and we couldn't keep him waiting any longer.
I love this. Okay, I never get tired of that, okay? I'm the guy who tears up whenever it's the kids' basketball, the game, the kids' baseball game, whatever. That's how, like, a kindergarten class, dad comes in, he's wrapped as a Christmas package. I mean, who doesn't like that? If you don't have a soul. I thought that was pretty cool. Venezuela opposition leader Juan Guaido attended the State of the Union. He's the guy who would be in charge if there were actual free and fair elections in Venezuela.
Here this evening is a very brave man who carries with him the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of all Venezuelans. Joining us in the gallery is the true and legitimate president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido. Mr. President, please take this message back to your family.
Oh my God, Nancy Pelosi stood for that one. There he is. All right, so another cool event from the evening. Very nice State of the Union. A surprise happened. This means a lot to me because I started writing for Rush Limbaugh, satire for Rush Limbaugh, many, many years ago. Back in 1990, right out of college, I started writing comedy. And then if you've heard parody songs and things like that on the Rush Limbaugh program, I did a number of those, a lot of them, hundreds of them actually. And so Rush is near and dear to my heart, and we all know that this week he came on the air, I guess it was Tuesday, and he said that he has advanced lung cancer. Last night, and it was a surprise to me, apparently CNN knew about it and did everything they could to deride it. But Rush Limbaugh received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Here is an extended version of that, Rush being acknowledged by the president.
Almost every American family knows the pain when a loved one is diagnosed with a serious illness. Here tonight is a special man, beloved by millions of Americans, who just received a stage 4 advanced cancer diagnosis. This is not good news, but what is good news is that he is the greatest fighter and winner that you will ever meet. Rush Limbaugh, thank you for your decades of tireless devotion to our country.
Amen.
And Rush, in recognition of all that you have done for our nation, the millions of people a day that you speak to and that you inspire, and all of the incredible work that you have done for charity, I am proud to announce tonight that you will be receiving our country's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
I've never seen Rush show emotion like this in my life. No one has, unless it's somebody near and dear to him. Now, Melania went ahead and gave the award to him.
I will now ask the First Lady of the United States to present you with the honor, please.
There you go. So, an amazing event. There was a good deal of consternation. This piece from Timothy Bella. I believe this is in the UK Daily Mail. Limbaugh, the conservative, often profane, talk radio giant. He's never profane, by the way. Who helped mold a form of loud and brash conservatism for decades. No, it was proud conservatism, and he was the first conservative out there who spoke unabashedly, proudly about being a conservative and didn't have to be closeted about it and didn't have to be afraid of it. He shaped the country, he shaped the world, and he certainly changed broadcasting. Certainly. But some people went off on that. Rush was given this award rather than a White House ceremony. He was given the award last night. I don't know why it had to happen in such a hurry. But it apparently did. And I hope and pray that he can fight this. I really do. Okay. So you're thinking that Nancy Pelosi tearing up the State of the Union would have been really popular among Democrats. Well, last night after the State of the Union, C-SPAN was on, and they had their Democrat caller line open. Here's what Democrats had to say to C-SPAN following Nancy Pelosi's tearing up of the Cheesecake Factory menu. I mean, the State of the Union.
I've been a Democrat for 70-something years. And what I've seen tonight of the Democrat Party, I am changing my mind. I mean, I'll probably still be a Democrat. But far as I'm electing for a goddamn Democrat, never again.
I am a Democrat as well, but no longer will I vote Democrat. I think it's outrageous that they sat there when all these good things are happening to our country and how much we love our country, and they looked like they hated our country. And Nancy Pelosi, the whole time she's sitting up there with a disgusting look on her face, it's outrageous.
Well, that's caused by plastic surgery.
Again, and I'm sick of it, and my whole family feels the same way. My husband, my friends are sitting here, all former Democrats. We all voted for Hillary last time, and therefore never, ever will we ever vote Democrat again.
Okay, now Nancy Pelosi did this because she thought she was tearing up Donald Trump's words. Here's, in fact, what she was tearing up.
Ian has always dreamed of going to space. He was the first in his class and among the youngest at an aviation academy. Charles is one of the last surviving Tuskegee Airmen, the first black fighter pilots, and he also happens to be Ian's great-grandfather. Rush Limbaugh, who just received a stage 4 advanced cancer diagnosis.
But President Trump telling a little girl that she's going to get a scholarship, that was a lovely moment.
I am thrilled to inform you that your husband is back from deployment. He is here with us tonight, and we couldn't keep him waiting any longer.
I think the last 24 hours have been a big wake-up call for Democrats.
Why did you rip the speech up, Madam Speaker?
Because it was the courteous thing to do.
I don't think it was the most courteous thing to do. Why? I think you could have done that in your office. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, let's move on. Before I go, I'll do one of the other big events of the week, and that, of course, was the Iowa caucus, which was a disaster. Iowa caucus was pretty much a mitigated disaster. They had a new app. It was fouled up, and consequently, the votes, even at the time of the taping of this show, were still not completely known. However, it looks like Pete Buttigieg, the mayor of the fourth largest town in the state of Indiana, coming out on top with Bernie Sanders close second, Elizabeth Warren, then Joe Biden fourth place, folks. Amy Klobuchar, 12% before the real losing began. Andrew Yang, 1%. Tom Steyer, 3%. Deval Patrick, John Delaney, Michael Bennett, all 0%. And coming in at 0.3%, less than zero, Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg is polling worse. I mean, he's got just 0.3% more support in Iowa than I do. And I'm not even running. I'm not even running. By the way, Pete Buttigieg is the mayor of the fourth largest city in the state of Indiana, right behind Pawnee, the fictional town in Indiana from Parks and Recreation. That's just what so yeah. Life experience, mayoral experience, not so sure that's going to benefit him. But we will see as that's a lot of money by Michael Bloomberg. It's $300 million to get 0.3%. That's a lot of money per vote. All right, thanks for joining me tonight, guys. I do really appreciate it. Thank you, Newsmax TV, for putting the show on. Greatly appreciate that as well. If you would like to follow me on Facebook, just go to Rob Carson Show. When I'm not shadow banned, it's right there, which doesn't happen very often because Facebook kind of likes to shadow ban me for some reason. Twitter at Rob Carson. You can also check me out on Instagram at Rob Carson Show as well. In the meantime, you can email me as well. CarsonOnTheRadio@gmail.com. CarsonOnTheRadio@gmail.com. Join me next week on Newsmax right here. See ya.